Hey, what's going on, guys? Patrick, Conservative Rap. Is it time to audit Fort Knox? You ever hear the saying tighter than Fort Knox? Well, it turns out Fort Knox may not be that tight overall, after all. Today, we're going to discuss whether or not it's time we audit Fort Knox. And I'm pointing this out because I believe these things are what we should be paying attention to as citizens. In the vein of the popular conspiracy theorists, we want to become vigilant citizens, right? We want to know what our government is doing. We want to have accountability. We want to have transparency into their actions and behaviors so that we can have a lens into where the country is going as a whole, of course. And this shared identity that we have as a nation is determined by our level of civic involvement and our level of civic awareness. So big picture, time to audit Fort Knox. Even bigger macrocosmic picture, no different than you have an agent that might help you with your job search or career, or even a doctor that might assist you with your wellness trajectory. You trust them, but you have to watch them too, right? In America, we are the government essentially. It's not like they rule over us. These people are to be our delegates. And when you delegate power or authority to someone, they need to know that you have a watchful eye over them so they don't curtail, like, you don't want to curtail those abuses. You want to curtail corruption. So this is from the Gateway Pundit, and I'll put all of these links in the body below. Rand Paul calls for the first Fort Knox gold audit in over 50 years, nearly 50 years. Taps Elon Musk's Doge for verification. FOIA requests, dig this, FOIA requests show 7 out of the 13 previous audits are reportedly missing. So this is an article that talks about Rand Paul calling for a long overdue audit of the U.S. gold reserves at Fort Knox, which hasn't been done in any comprehensive manner in nearly half a century, right? Supposedly there are 4,580, right, tons of U.S. gold stored there, which is $387 billion in value currently. And people are wondering if it still exists because the last known audit took place in the 70s up until 1986, before many of us were even born. So there was a FOIA request revealed that half of the reports, 7 out of a total 13, are missing. And despite previous attempts, they remain unaccounted for. In 2020, there was a Rep. Alex Mooney who proposed a bill for a comprehensive audit of our gold reserves, and that's still pending in Congress. Next, and this is from Wall Street Apes on X. Dig this. Give them a follow if you can. He has a post where he talks about Rand Paul, but then goes into the origin, like muckraking around this entire issue. There was an article published in '74 that questioned the Rockefellers' influence over the Federal Reserve. Supposedly they had an intent to sell gold to European speculators. 3 days after the story was published, the anonymous source for the report, Nelson Rockefeller's long-term secretary, she miraculously fell to her death 10 floors down from the balcony of her Manhattan apartment. He goes on in Wall Street Apes, he goes on to talk about a guy from Ohio, Ed Durrell, who was investigating the matter during his time, and Edith Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt's granddaughter, that brought light to the same issue. None of them were actually successful, though, in getting a full-scale audit done. And in Wall Street Apes' words, it's incredible that the world's largest, greatest treasure has little accounting or auditing that's ever been completed. Also from The Independent, check this. Why are U.S. banks flying gold from London to New York? About 8,000 gold bars have been moved out of the Bank of England's vaults in the recent months. They have about 252 billion in U.S. dollars total gold deposits, and they're attributing it to Trump's tariffs, the threat of a global trade war. But is that really the full story? The gold is worth more in New York than London currently, but I'm not buying it. And lastly, one more for good measure. And again, I'll put all of these links in the body below so you can research for yourself. But this is from Weather Underground. Fort Knox had a severe weather alert. All of a sudden, floods, winter storm warning, notices, I mean, you name it. So what do you think? Is it time we audit Fort Knox? In my mind, the gold that's there belongs to us. It's our freaking gold, right? So I tell Elon, Rand Paul, go ahead with it. Let's get this party started. The reality is, you and I, we can't make a cent without them coming after us. So where's their accountability, right? Where does the transparency, why does the transparency and the reporting work in a single way rather than both? And it's not just civics, right? I think, in our own lives, Think about it. Where have you delegated power, or who have you delegated power to, where it may be helpful to monitor more closely and get more involved? Even if it's just letting them know, like with a slight verbal hint, as a metaphor, right? A gentle reminder can go a long way to let people know there's a boundary of what you'll like tolerate from them. So again, links below in the description. Comment. Feel free to let me know what you think. And yeah, it turns out Fort Knox may not be that tight after all. We'll find out in the next couple days here. Thanks again, and look forward to talking soon.